So I am continuing on with sort of a play of words or comparing and contrasting distinctions and overlaps. And the two words I chose today are inquiring and acquiring. And I think these words might have come to mind because of this semi-annual print journal that was important to me way back early on when I was a meditator and studying Dharma, and it was called the Inquiring Mind. And I went back and I Googled it, and I saw that its mission was it was dedicated to the creative transmission of Buddha Dharma to the West. Now, I didn't know the word creative was used back then. I hadn't caught that, and I wasn't so tuned to it, but I enjoyed seeing that. And so I think it was really important to me back then because there weren't a lot of other Dharma publications. Tricycle didn't begin publishing until 1991. And it was important to me because I have some very crystal clear memories. And this is one of them. I clearly remember back, I think it was 2003, and I was reading The Inquiring Mind, and I saw an ad in it, and it was for a Buddhism and psychotherapy conference in outside of the Bay Area of California in Marin County. And as soon as I saw that ad, I knew there was like a knowing. And I said, I need to go there. I need to attend this. And this was not usual for me. I didn't usually do this sort of thing. I wouldn't go to a 5-day residential conference where I didn't know anything about the person who put it on, and I didn't know anyone else who attended. This was really not usually what I did. And yeah, logically, partly I wanted to find like-minded therapists who were integrating Buddhism and psychotherapy into their clinical practice. That's what I was doing, and there weren't so many of us back then. There were some of us, but I wanted to spend the days with them thinking about the topic. But there was something else going on, and it was an intuitive knowing that I need to go there. It was an imperative, actually. And it turns out that's when I met Jason Siff, and I walked up to him and somewhat, again, atypically, because I barely knew the guy, asked him to teach me to teach, and he said yes. Turns out the timing was right. He just started a teacher training program. And most of you know the rest of the story, but this led me to be, well, teaching you here today. And it turns out, as I was Googling this, that all the past Inquiring Mind magazines are online if you wish to delve a little further into the history of Buddhism in the West through the lens of this journal. So back to those words I was going to teach to, inquiring and acquiring. Now, the name of the publication was The Inquiring Mind, and people often do that, the acquiring mind, the inquiring mind, but I don't care for that because I don't think a mind is well, I think this is Buddha Dharma here, right? The mind is not a static thing, and it's not a one thing. So I can't even imagine how it could be just acquiring or just inquiring. Now, that might be the dominant thing that's going on, but the mind is so much more complex. So I like those ing words. Turns out those are called present participles. And I'll begin to go into more depth with acquiring, because I think we all know about it. We live in a world, in a capitalist world that is shaped by acquisition. And not just even of things, yes, of possessions for sure, but also we want to acquire knowledge and experience, credentials, praise, insight. Perhaps even, not perhaps, likely, that acquiring sneaks right into your meditation, your aspirations for meditation. I want to gain wisdom. I want to have deep experiences. I want to become awakened. And of course, it sort of is built into the system of meditation. Those kind of promises do lead to wanting to get them. But acquiring can be driven by a feeling of lack. It's something outside of ourselves that it perceives will fill that lack. Now, it might be that the wanting isn't loud or greedy. That's how we usually think about it, but it could be more subtle, more spiritual, socially acceptable. But still, it's good to be on the watch for tanha. That's the Pali word. and thirst is the word in English. And when we've noticed on our meditation, like a push, I need to have certain experiences or get somewhere better than here. Maybe we need to come away with something worth sharing in the last 10 minutes of this group, or something like that. Now, mind you, I had that state of mind when I went to that conference in Marin County back then. Except that I don't know that I even knew what I wanted to. Well, how could I have known what I wanted to acquire? I maybe more knew that I needed to be there. But acquiring that kind of feeling of acquiring, it can feel restless. It can feel dissatisfying, grasping. But I'm going to compare it now to inquiring. That's not about like chasing something. It turns towards experience, but it's more gentle. It's less grasping. It's not like, what can I get from this, but rather, what's going on here? So again, inquiry and meditation, this isn't analysis or problem solving, and it's not interrogation. People confuse that early on, but more, it's a soft, open curiosity, hopefully. And again, hopefully, it allows experience to unfold and reveal itself without demanding a result. So in general, all this is in general, right? Because once I start comparing words, there's all kinds of in-betweens and a little of this and a little of that. But in general, inquiry is interested in what's going on, the truth of what's going on now, not what can be gained later. It's not about trying to produce something. The inquiry itself feels valuable just in itself. And really, because it can be an expression of care, not so much an expression of control. Another way of putting this is acquiring is a movement outward. It's looking for something it doesn't yet have. But inquiry, by contrast, it turns inward, perhaps with a kind of trust that there's some richness in our experience, and we don't have to go grasping for it. We just need to give it a little attention and some space. When we meditate with an acquiring attitude, we can come away disappointed, and we might even subtly reinforce the very habits that we're coming to meditation to soften. Habits such as striving or self-judgment or comparison. I'm sure we've all had those experiences. And by contrast, when we're in a more cultivating inquiry, when we're that's more in that state of mind, I'm good with state of mind, we become more trusting of our experience. We're not so much trying to control it and improve it, and instead, as we often say, we're trying to relate to it a bit more intimately. And we learn over time, we learn not just from the content of meditation, of course, but from how we relate to our meditation. And hopefully over time, this shift, leaning more towards inquiring, leaning away from acquiring, can become a path of greater ease. It really is easier to not be grasping and trying to get somewhere, and kindness towards ourselves. So that ends this morning's talk, and we'll move into seeing what appears in our experience. And